All right, I've got a K1 just delivered, and I'm going to rework it for taking a paddle on the input and flash it with the NR7Y firmware. Now, I suspect the cable that they packed in here is actually decent in that it carries data lines as well as power. Let's test that real quick. No, it doesn't carry data on it. So this is a cheap cable that is just for charging, which means it's a great candidate for, let's say, upcycling and using it in our rework. There's really no reason to go buy custom cable to do a rework inside a Quansheng. You can, but you don't have to. And let's prove it. So let's start by getting the radio open. That's going to take a Torx bit, T9. Let's do a little zoom in here. All right. Just 2 screws. Forrest beat me to this video, and that's perfectly fine. Thanks, Forrest, for posting that. Great video. Figured I might as well post one on my own as well. Screws out, just pry open the bottom. Oh, should probably take off the knob first. Like Forrest found, some of these are more jammed on than others. There it goes. That's off. Pry up the bottom with a flathead. And now that it's loose, I'm just going to very carefully pull it up and out. And the thing that we're watching for is this ribbon cable that's inside. I do prefer to disconnect these ribbon cables when I'm working inside. You can use a plastic spudger if you have something like that for working inside devices, but if you don't have a spudger, don't worry about it. Just grab a toothpick. Those work fine too. You're just looking for something that's non-insulating. It's not going to scratch up these contacts. Your fingernail honestly works fine too, but a toothpick is a nice way to pry in there. And this is a flipping door, so you're just flipping it up. There we go, flipped up. And now the ribbon cable that comes out the other side is loose and has just come out, so disconnects really easily. Again, to get the display off, you can use a spudger if you like that. You can use a screwdriver if you prefer to jam it in there. I kind of prefer not to put metal contacts in there. So what I'm going to be doing, a little hard to see on camera, but I'm just going to press kind of down and in, and I'm applying force that way to loosen a catch. The catch is going through the PCB, and then it's pulling toward the outside. So when I apply some inward force and I go in and just a little bit up, it just pops right out. And once that's loose, you can just kind of give the display a little bit of a wiggle back and forth, and that will loosen the upper catch that's the same way but facing the other direction. So you can see those catches there were facing out and facing out to the right as well. And this is connected with this flex circuit that you just want to flex up and out of the way. As long as you just leave the display alone like that, it's not going to tear off. It's relatively firm, but you do need to be a little gentle with it. All right, we'll go one more zoom in here. All right, so we got our PCB now. We're just going to be adding 2 wires. One's going to go from the 3rd contact down on this side, 1, 2, 3, right next to the square opening there, so watch out for that because the display wants to go through that hole. We're going to bridge from this 3rd contact over here, over to the terminal down here, the 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these solder blobs. Connect there. And then the second wire we're going to do is up from the top here, down to the third contact at the bottom. We're also going to remove 2 resistors here and here. I'm going to start with the wires. So like I mentioned, the USB cable that comes with the Quansheng is just for charging, and you got lots of charging cables for USB. So we're going to hack this one apart and use it as our rework wires. I'm just going to cut the end off. And I'm going to need about that much wire. So I'm just going to hack a piece out of it. You can either take a knife, razor blade, or what I like to do that's a little bit safer is use some wire strippers to strip the outer cover off the cable there. And now we've got a couple nice little wires we can pull out. That'll work just fine for rework. So I'll keep one of those for the first rework. Second rework is a little bit longer, so this wire isn't actually going to be long enough. So I need a segment from our USB cable again that's just a little bit longer, like that. Now I've got a nice longer rework wire I can use. Strip the ends off of those. Looks like these are about 26 gauge, 28 gauge. Yeah, that looks good. Got a little bit of extra sticking off the end there, so I'm going to cut that clean because I don't want that, that single strand to be floating around. It's going to make soldering just a little harder. So let's clean that up. Make that a nice clean end on there now. Yep. All right. Warm up the iron. You can use tweezers if you prefer, it's not really required. I'm going to go up and over for this one. Again, 1, 2, 3. Just waiting for my iron to get hot enough here. There we go. Okay. And this one's going to go to that bottom blob over on the right-hand side. Then I'm going to go from the top. Let's clean that up. It's the one downside of using the USB wires is they are stranded internally. I do prefer to use a solid wire if I have my choice when doing smaller reworks. But the stranded will work fine. You just need to make sure that there's no individual strands from the wire shooting off in weird directions and contacting things that they shouldn't. Oh, I made that wire way too long. Let's actually shorten that up just a little bit. There we go. And this bottom terminal obviously doesn't have solder yet, so let's add a little bit. If I'm being particular, I'm going to super glue this down somewhere along the open PCB, maybe up there, maybe down here. But it will hold if you don't. It's fine. The speaker is just going to cover over the back of it here, so it's not really going to be a problem. And then we need to remove those resistors. Let's start with this one. I'm just applying heat with a bit of a bladed tip that I have. If you have a sharper tip, you can apply it separately to each terminal, back and forth until it gives. But with a blade like that, it just kind of shoots right off. Just kind of wiggling it to get the heat on both terminals of the resistor. And eventually it's just going to pop right off like that. Looks all right. We're all done. Flip that guy down, latch it. The right side and then the left. There it goes. Make sure the screen looks okay. Sometimes you get fingerprints on it by accident, so just make sure that it's nice and clean looking. Polish it if you need to. Now that ribbon cable. So hold the two sides next to each other, and that ribbon cable is just going to slide right into that connector. You can coerce it with tweezers if you need to, which I might just do here. Sometimes it'll just slide in by itself. You can get it to stay. It's not behaving for me tonight, so let's just use tweezers. It has a sort of reinforced part on the end here. That's really where you want to grab it if you can. The rest of the flex cable is relatively robust, but not nearly as much as that reinforced part at the end. There we go. So it's slid in now, and I'm going to close that door. And that's all it takes. I've got the plastic side part still here. If it dropped off, just place it back there as you slide it back in. We're being gentle not to scooch this down too far because we don't want to overflex that cable. And now it just slides back up inside and presses closed. Found the screws, put those back in, flashed up to the latest firmware. So let's fire that up for the first time and see how that goes. Yep, NR7Y firmware. So nothing's been configured yet for CW. We like to use a normal iambic paddle into the side port. So let's go into the menus for that. All the CW menus are added at the end of the menu list. So notice we're at the first here, and now we're going to wrap back around to 79. And we can go up into the CW settings. So I'm going to change the input over to port iambic. 18 words per minute sounds good. Iambic B, middle level side tone volume, and I'll drop the tone down just for kicks. In the other menus here, you can do things like record macros and play them back again, set the repeat speed, and turn the break-in on or off. So I'll go over to CW mode by holding down the 0 FM to rotate through modulations. Now we're over to CW. We'll plug in our key. You can hold down the 7 Vox button to go in and out of break-in mode. Notice BK is on right now, so break-in is enabled. We can disable break-in so we're not transmitting. And you can just hold down the Vox to turn back on break-in. That's on now. You can also go into the practice keyer by hitting function and holding down 5. So there's our code practice mode. And exit it back out. So NR7Y CW firmware is working on the Quansheng K1.